Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Cracking the Cryptic. So I exited out of the app and relaunched and noticed that there's a new notification here. Apparently they're launching their first bonus pack, a Holiday 2024 pack. It's unlocked by purchasing any of the premium packs and launches with 2 puzzles celebrating Valentine's Day, which I am recording this, I think, on Valentine's Day, which would make it a lot of sense. So it's nice to see that the game is being supported. I would be interested to just scroll all the way down here and see what the oldest notification we can see is. It seems to be August 19th, 2022, so a couple years. We're talking about a new user interface. So that would have been the point when the traditional interface has moved, and it seems like the 500,000 celebration happened in 2022. I would imagine that it probably hasn't had as much improvements as I would like, but it is kind of a niche product too. So the Kickstarter campaign for the Cracking the Cryptic Greatest Hits Volume 2 was in 2022. So, yeah. And then, seems like more consistently you would just get more generic updates of just more puzzles, more puzzles, more puzzles. It does seem like if you buy any of the DLC, there's a decent chance. The Lines Variety Pack, you have 40 puzzles and 60 more coming in future updates. Yeah. It does seem like they're pretty consistent. Massive battery saver improvements. More performance updates. Like the fact that this app would need any performance updates at all. But yeah. Unlike any other Sudoku game you would find on Steam, almost certainly, this one seems like it is going to continuously get updates, and there's a good chance that that's always going to be the case as long as Cracking the Cryptic's YouTube channel exists, because then they're going to constantly need their fan base, or them personally. Cracking the Cryptic is going to have to personally make more puzzles to make more YouTube videos. As long as he's making puzzles, those puzzles might as well get added to the Cracking the Cryptic video game. The only thing I can really complain about is they made a mistake by not just launching Cracking the Cryptic app and instead making like 6 other Sudoku games just called Killer Sudoku, Classic Sudoku from Studio Goya, and they're probably continuing that mistake by not taking down those other apps and then selling the puzzles in those apps as being part of Cracking the Cryptic, as DLC. Yeah, I think you would probably take Classic Sudoku and just have that be the initial first purchase, and then every variant should be a collection of variants, so that when you come to the play part here, there would be one called Classic Sudoku, one called Killer Sudoku, in the same way that there's one that says Domino Sudoku. Well, all the other ones here are called Lines Variety Pack, or the Genuinely Appreciates Sudoku. And if you add all these puzzles up together, it's really not anywhere as many puzzles as it really should be. And I can't even click on the bonus packs or any of this. So this bonus pack really does require you to purchase a couple bits of DLC, or at least one of these, which there's a problem here. What if you like Night Sudoku or Killer Sudoku? There isn't a DLC here for that yet. Almost certainly there would be one, but there isn't now. Anyways, that's more than enough talking about that. Last time I did partial crop key killer arrow Sudoku, puzzle number 20. It's probably inaccurate to say I did it. It's probably more accurate to say I failed miserably at it, couldn't even understand the original concept, and couldn't understand any of the hints. Like, from the very first to the very last, I couldn't understand any of it, and then had to spend extra time trying to figure something out. Had to guess a lot of times to try and figure out what the hint was even trying to say. It really just threw my head through a whirl. Now, the best time here says that I did the puzzle in 4 minutes and 9 seconds. That is absolutely inaccurate. I took probably about 150 minutes to solve it, but then I solved it by cheating, which this game does let you do, obviously at a fairly efficient speed, a second time, and it doesn't really keep a log of the second best times, which those are just metrics and numbers that are very easy to program. You could have a log file button, just like a little picture of a piece of paper here, that could tell you every single time you've ever solved the Sudoku puzzle, and you would have to get into the millions, if not billions, of times the file would have had to been written to for it to matter one bit, as far as wearing down a hard drive or filling up a hard drive. Text is just incredibly small. Text is in the, like, one character, just like the number 4 here, on a 64-bit system, is going to probably take you just 1 byte. Whereas a minute of audio might take, like, no, I don't know how to really say this. Your average text file would probably take you about 10 kilobytes in size, so 10,000 characters. That's a good estimate. Whereas your average audio file, even compressed as an MP3, is going to be several megabytes in size, so almost 100 times bigger. And then your videos are going to be potentially several gigabytes in size, which could be 100 times bigger, even 1,000 times bigger. So yeah, keeping that information is super easy. And it's not like you're even going to do anything with retaining it. The bigger problem would be like the user interface being a problem. But it's not really a problem, because there's dead space here where you could have more best times. There's room here at 1080p to have more best times. There's plenty of dead space here that you could have something. Perhaps I'm a little bit spooked here to jump into puzzle 21. Yeah, and I haven't slept since the last puzzle. I just feel a little reinvigorated, and I'm gonna probably regret this, but whatever. We're gonna do this killer arrow Sudoku. There's a lot of these puzzles use the killer concept, and this is the highest level of difficulty, a full how many stars? Let's see, 4 plus 2 plus another 4, full 10-star difficulty by Dyer. Let's just hop in. Basic rules still always apply. The numbers and digits 1 through 9 must be in every row and in every column in every box exactly once. The killer variant says that numbers can't repeat inside these boxes, even if they cross into a different section, a different box. So, while technically classic Sudoku would let this number and this number be different, or be the same, it can't be the same here. And the digits inside the killer boxes sum to the digit in the top left if provided. I still don't know why they call it that killer Sudoku. It is really too flashy of a name for too simplistic of a concept and variant. Honestly, I would call it more sheep Sudoku, because you're always counting your sheep and getting a total, and you're always keeping your sheep inside of a fence. You could also call it fence Sudoku for a more generic description. You could call it quorum Sudoku. Maybe that's too big of a word, but whatever. Then we have the third variant, the arrow variant. Numbers along the shaft must sum to the number at the base, which that'll be interesting. And then we once again are starting with far too few hints. Far too few hints. We should have, if this was a basic Sudoku, classic Sudoku, 17 numbers entered in to start with. We have 0. But because of the variants, there are some concepts here that jump out immediately. The first thing that jumps out to me is this spot, and this spot all share something unique, other than just that they're in the same box. They can't be 1. And so let's go ahead and start by marking that. It can't be 1 here, because then this would be 1. And that's just not going to happen, because the minimum here would be a 1 and a 2. So the minimum this needs to be is 3, and I'm confused. It says the numbers along the shaft of each arrow must sum to the number at the base. These look like separate arrows and not one connected arrow. But it can't work that way, can it? Not unless they want me to violate just everything. Or can I? Can it? Yeah, I guess it could work here. If this was a 5, nothing about basic Sudoku prevents this from being a 5, because it's diagonal to it. So whatever these numbers are the same. And we've done, the last puzzle I did was very much like this too. This number, this here, is, we'll just use dark since I never use dark anyways. That is the same as that. Same number. That is the same as that. And that is the same as that. But all of these are different numbers too. We also know that the 2, 3. Now, I wish there was kind of like a lock you could do to combine things together. 2 and 1 are the smallest combination here. And it really won't be just 2 and 1, but we can start with that. And then say that the sum here would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. And then there probably are some sums here that just can't be reached. Like if this was 8, 1, then these two could be 9. No, I'm gonna assume that's wrong. Like there's never gonna be a case where a 2, 7, whatever these two numbers are, this number will be bigger. Always. Just by basic math. Since these two numbers sum to this, and since this is this, so these two numbers will never interfere with this number. Okay. So I think that's about as much as we can derive from that. We can see combinations here and see that there are 3 possible combinations on that one. There are 4 possible combinations on that one. Same would be true for that one. There are only 2 possible combinations for this, so might as well go ahead and mark them. That this would be a 5, 9 combination, or it would be a 6, 8 combination. It's a ton of combinations on that one. And then there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a possibility here. Which that's easy enough to fill. Now we don't know what numbers are remaining here, though. But we can, well, I think we'd probably be just filling in every single number here if I started to fill in these spots, because any one of these numbers could be one of the 2 digits that are on the odd man out, and thus this could be a 1, this could be a 2, could be a 3, could be a 4, could be a 5. And it could also be a 6, a 7, an 8, and a 9. And so it's what these are just the odd numbers to what is in this section and these 3 sections. So probably not going to fill that in pretty quickly. Whatever this number is, this number cannot be. And I have no way of really marking that. And same would be true for whatever this number is. This number cannot be. You still have basically the same rules here. That 3 through 9 are the possibilities on this square. Now numbers on the arrow just have to sum up. They can repeat if classic Sudoku lets that happen. If I could figure out what this number is and what this number is, it would eliminate 2 possibilities there. And let's see. Figuring out what this would do would probably affect this cube, or possible combinations here. And then the 16 cube here. Pretty sure it could be any number at the moment. But once we start eliminating possibilities, we'll have to keep an eye out to remember that there is one here, because I didn't even see that. I didn't even see that there was a 16 killer box here. And then there's an 8 killer box here that I also didn't see. So are there any other killer boxes that I'm just not seeing? There is possibly something special about this number and this number here, because there'll be odd man out otherwise. But I think what we need to do is just run every scenario through. If this was 1 here, then that would eliminate all these 1s. And then this could be a 1. And this could be a 1. If this was 2, same would be true with that. If it was 3, same would be true with that. If it was 4, same would be true with that. If it was 5, same would be true with that. And then if it was 6, it doesn't eliminate any of them and only eliminates the possibility of 6 being here. Same is true with 7, same is true with 8, same is true with 9. But we can say 9 is not a viable option. If there is some parallel that this was exactly the same as this, if I could somehow mathematically, logically figure out that that was the case, then you would know that these numbers would have to be 6, 7, 8. Because it couldn't eliminate all the ones in that combination. And we can't use the secret because this crosses over into other boxes. We can't just take this 15 and subtract it from 45 to see what the combination is in these. So we probably have to use the secret somewhere else. Filling in this isn't going to get us anywhere. Filling in this, I could theoretically fill in all the numbers here, 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 and here with 1 through 8, but let's see if we can find something else out first. So this would be 5 digits. So if we have 5 digits and we're looking for 18 minus 45, 10 minus 45 would be 35, and then 8 minus that would be 27. That gives us several possibilities. And there's way too many possibilities here, too. So that is not going to work for us. If we tried instead to use 7 digits and reach the sum of 7 minus 45, that would be 38. It gives us one odd man out of 4, 2, or 1. 4, 6, 4, 2, 1, or 6. See if that's right. In this one, you're missing a 3, so that number could be 3. And then also missing a 4, so it could be 4. In this missing one, you're missing a 2 and a 5. And then in the final one, you're missing a 1 and a... Actually, let's mark it this way. A 1 and a 6. So this is either 1, 6, 2, 4, or 3, 3, 4. Yeah. It's either 3, 4, which would match with this, or it's 2, 5, or it'd match with this, or it's 1, 6 and match with this. So what are the possible combinations now of this? 1, 6, 2, 5, and 3, 4. So I just went backwards to prove effectively nothing. Didn't I? Yeah. I totally went backwards there to just type in that. So if the secret doesn't help me there, will the secret help me anywhere? Or is this a case where the secret is not going to be helpful at all? Yeah, if I were going to use the secret, it's got to be where there's something more going on than just one killer box in the box. So this wouldn't help me, this wouldn't help me, this wouldn't help me alone. So let's revert back to my previous instinct and just select all the spots here. And go ahead and just mark all the possibilities. I wonder if there's some logic in the layout. It almost seems like there has to be some kind of logic in the layout of one of these arrows. Yeah, I think there is. Because if this was 1, and then this was 2, well, that would eliminate all the ones here. It would let this be 1, or let this be 1. No, I think the weirdness here is going to have to be what would have had to have been if this was 1 and this was 1, which that's not possible by classic Sudoku rules. But if that was 1 and that was 1, that would have eliminated everything and made that a 1. Even if it was a 1-2 pair that was matched with another 1-2 pair, like maybe that's what's going to happen here, is we have like a 1-2 pair between these two and a 1-2 pair between these two, but these numbers actually can't be the same. All of these numbers have to be different. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is probably not 3 or 4 or 5, and that it would be one of the 6, 7, 8s instead. In this 8 column, there's a possibility that any number would show up. But wait a minute, let's look at the combination here. This is our in, is it not? That this has to be a 6-8. Let's get out of multi-select mode. Or a 5-9. Okay. I need to keep an eye out on that, to not just assume it's a 6-8, which I almost did. So, if I did a 1-2-5 here, that does nothing. Darn it. We might as well write down the possibilities on the board. It'll be way easier to see it than going back to the machine. Okay. Is there a possibility now between the different possibilities here that this maybe would eliminate 1s? We can eliminate 1s, I think, because we have like a triple here where 1 must be one of the numbers, even if we don't know it's whether it's 2, 5 or 3, 4 otherwise. But if this was 1, 2, 6, 9, that would eliminate 1, 1 here. And then if this was 1, 2, that would just eliminate the 1. So this still could be 2 and this still could be 5. So I'd have to see something that had 1, 3, 4 as a combination, or 1, 2, 5 as a combination. Yeah. I think it would have to have those exact numbers. But the 6, 8 would, if this was 6, 8, then that would eliminate everything here with a 6 in it. If this was a 5, 9, it would eliminate everything with a 5 or a 9 in it. Yeah, 6, 8 would also eliminate everything in here with an 8 in it. And there's probably not a single combination here that doesn't have one of those digits in it. But we can start with more logic just by saying 1 can't be here, which is a tiny amount of progress. Let's think about this combination now. Is there a possibility that 1 is not here? Yes, here and here is a possibility. Is there a possibility 2 is not here? Yes. So, and none of the combinations here, since they're all low numbers, would eliminate any of the high numbers. There is a connection, clearly, to whatever this combination is, in that it will be probably a different combination from what this is. Let's see, we have 2 combinations with 1s in them, 2 combinations with 2, 3 combinations with 3, and 1 combination that starts with a 4. So unless this was like 4, 5, 7, and then that blocked this and this as a possibility, even that I don't think changes much. So I'm 24 minutes in, and I could either spend time just filling in the remaining blank things, or I could try a smart hint. And there's a contrast here that needs to be addressed, in that visually I want the board to just stay empty with blank spots, but to really use the smart hints and try to brute force based on basic Sudoku rules, you have to fill in every possibility. It is the one penalty in a game that probably should have more penalties, as far as once you run into trouble or are going to cheat. Although you can't have too many penalties, really. You should just maybe have a score that goes down for every hint. Or something that just increases your time every time you go in for a hint. That really wouldn't penalize me too much if it added a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes even for every hint I used. Yeah, that would be a pretty good direct correlation to your score otherwise being your time. Of course, then that would be a very artificial time, so then you would need a score time and a real world time. So yeah. Last time I started doing the written hints, though, I hadn't filled in every blank spot, and it definitely was noticeable that I should not do that again. Before I click a smart hint, though, let me ask this scenario. If we were to consider that one of these, this is a 5-9 pair, then that would eliminate 5 and 9 from being here, which really wouldn't be any combination that would sum up to that anyways. It would eliminate 1 5 from a 1 2 5 combination, but that doesn't really stop anything either. If this was a 6 8 on this arrow, that still wouldn't change anything because those numbers are too big. So seems like 5 9 6 8 here skips over everything. If we had a 5 9 6 8 pair right here, there might be some trick to this. But if this was 5 9, that would get rid of 9 as one possibility. If it was 6 8, it would get rid of 4 6 and 2 8 as two possibilities. That would be a way we might want it to go. It doesn't seem like it's a way it particularly has to go. If this was 1 6, then this couldn't be 1 6. No. Yeah, 1 here, a 6 here. You could still have a 1 here and a 6 here, just backwards. But they'd been, yeah, that would work. Alright, let's try a smart hint then. Smart hint says we could not generate a hint. No surprise there. So then, therefore, before I start doing any written hints, I'm going to do the barest level of effort to just mark every single spot with every single digit. That way we can work from that foundation. There's only slight difference here and here that we're not going to include 1. And I missed one here. In that split second of just clicking all the buttons and maybe turning my brain off for half a second to let it process, something occurs to me. And it's something that is probably pretty important. The 9 here and the 9 here, and we can't go anywhere else, have to be a 9. Reason for that being that there can't be a 9 here, 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 can't be a 9 here. That is right, unless this is a 9 or this is a 9. So we don't actually know that. I almost thought I'd figured something out. Alright, well, let's not waste any more time on it. Let's read the first hint. The question, I suppose, is just what is the in? Because we can get this far on these super hard puzzles and no further. This is every number except for 5. Which, that doesn't affect anything really. Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to like drag your feet on this. Every single thing is just going to be filled in. Marked those boxes wrong. Or whatever. 9 is probably you're in. Because that is the fewest places. There could be a 9. If we know a 9 can't be here, a 9 is either here or here. If a 9 is here, then the 9 would have to be here. If the 9 was here or here, then the 9 would have to be here. Which that, I guess, eliminates that from having a 9. That's what I was meaning to do. And I hope that's right. That there isn't a way that a 9 could be. You need a 9 in this box. If a 9 was here and this was 5, 9, then this would have to be 5. But yeah, I'm already starting to feel tired here, and already starting to regret that I tried to do one more episode. Hint number 1, written hint number 1, the interaction of row 3, column 3 and 7. So that would be this one and this one with box 2 is important. That's what I thought I was zooming in on, is that potentially 9 has to be here in these two, but it may be more complicated than that. One of these can appear on the arrow on box 2, but the other must be in the 10 cage. It can't be both, or there would be no low digit in the 10 cage. Well, this feels like a real hint. Can I figure it out without just having to jump? There is a real inconsistency on the written hints too. Some of them are hints, some of them are straight up just explanations of the solutions, and so those really should be labeled solutions. A hint slash a solution button, or both even, the hint button then leading to solution number 1, or an extra button to reveal the solution. Yeah, ideally I think most people would say show us a hint and then click a button to reveal blacked out solutions that would just explain it plainly. And the fact that that's fairly prevalent as far as a spoiler solution that you see online highlights how effective it can be to explain something in 2 different ways, either subtly hinting or just straight up it's giving a spoiler. In most video games, if they are going to have hints, often have like 2 or 3 levels of hints. So what this is saying is that this box, this digit, and this digit cannot appear. Well, whatever these digits are, they can't appear here. This digit has to be bigger than whatever these two digits are. We already figured that out. It says 1 can appear. Like the interaction with row 3, column 3 and 7 with box 2 says that one of these digits can appear on the arrow in box 2. So if this was, say, 2, 3, 5, then 5 could appear here. But if this was 2, 3, no, let's actually do this side. If this was 1, 2, 3, then 3 could appear here, and then that could be 2. 2 and 3, that would be 5. So then we'd have a 3 and 5 with this 3 appearing on this side, and this 5 not appearing here, which then would eliminate 3 and 5 as possibilities here and would take us to this cage. And so 1, 2, 3, 3, and 2 couldn't work actually. It would have to be 1, 2, 3, 3 and 4 and 6. Okay. Then 3 and 6 could be because these are all in the same cube. A 1 here would eliminate this possibility in this scenario. A 2 here would eliminate that possibility. That would be a 3, eliminating all the 3s here. And then a 3 could be inside this box. Or it could be here. And then you couldn't be 3 and 4, but you could be 3 and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 3 again, and 5, which would 3 in that spot would eliminate that. 3 and 5 would add up to equal 8. Then this would eliminate 8. So now you have an 8 that can't be in the box. There's only one combination that works. I don't know what it is, but it is going to cycle in this crisscross pattern that way over and over again. So with the exception of 1, these are mirrored in this order. So if 1, 2 doesn't work here, a 1, 2 theoretically wouldn't have worked here. So we don't have to calculate it differently. We do, however, just need to take it to the next level. So a 2, 3 here would eliminate those two possibilities. That would give us a 5. 5 can't go in here. 5 would have to go in here. And then 5 plus 4 gives us our 9. Then 9 here can't be here. 5 here can't be here. 2, 3, 5. Yeah, 5 can't be here, so then we need, yeah, we put the 5 here, but we can't put the 9 here, so that would be 1, 9, I think. I think that's the only possibility, that this is a 1, 9 pair. Let's try one more combination that probably won't work. If I go 3, 4 here, then that eliminates that and that to start with. Gives us a 7. If I put a 7 here, then I could add a 2. 2 gives us 9. 9 can't be here. And the 2 here would eliminate that, making this again 1, 9. And it definitely shouldn't work if I go like 4, 5 here, giving a 9, because then 9 would be here, and then 2, 3, and 5 would go in here, and that can't be a 5. And yeah, there's nothing more. 5 and 6 are 11. Okay. So assuming I'm correct, it seems like you had to run all the numbers, and I only saw about a third of that. I saw that there was whatever this was and whatever this would be would interact in some way to exclude those numbers from this point. This 1, 9 would remove the 1 as a possibility there. It also just goes and heads and removes all the possibilities from that spot. This one is labeled wrong. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So, what's the next step here? Because it's pretty obviously this. So is there any difference now? Or can I just jump the gun and say that every single time there's a 10 killer box here, and then there would be an arrow pointing here and an arrow pointing here, intersecting like this. Every time we saw this whole pattern here, regardless if it's rotated 90 degrees or not, can I just assume it's a 1, 9? If I assume it's a 1, 9, it eliminates all the 1s. And we needed a 1. So it can't be a 1, 9. So there has to be something different about this. There has to be a scenario I didn't consider before. Alright, so let's try it again. Let's try every single scenario and see what's different now. If this was a 1, 2, that would be a 3. Eliminating that from being a 3 should make that a 3, which would only leave a 4, 6 available. And then 3 plus, say, 6 would get us to 9, which wouldn't work. 3 plus 5 would get us to 8. And then that would be an 8, and an 8 can't be in there. So that wouldn't work. A 2, 3 would get us to 5, making this a 5. Well, even like 1, 2. I didn't consider all the situations, that's the problem. So 1, 2 getting us to 3, putting this at 3. I could put with 3 a 1 to get to 4, and then that would be no, I couldn't do 1 because I'd already done 1, 2. I could do 3, 4 to get to 7, which would put a 7 here, but that couldn't work for 3, 7. I could do 3, 5 to get to 8, but that would put an 8 here, and then I couldn't get to 2, and I could do a 3, 6 to get to 9, and then a 9 and a 1 would work in that scenario. If this was 3, 4 and that's 7, okay, that eliminates 3 and 4. It's a possibility. 7 here would have to be on the outskirts. You know what I think I'm failing to recognize here though is that like a 2, 3 and a 5 means the 5 is here, but a 1, 2 to a 3 does not mean a 3 is here. It means that the 3 would be here, and then 1, 2, 3 eliminated puts you with only a 4, 9, 4, 5 here to add to 9, and then you would have a 9 here, which is not possible with the 3, so it can't be 1, 2 in that case either. 2, 3 gives you a 5 that would have to be here, which would be a 4, 9. Which also still creates the same problem. A 3, 4 gives you 7. 7 could be here, but then this couldn't be 3, so it's not 7. A 2, 4 would give you 6. And then you could put a 6 here and add that up to a 1 or a 2 for 8 or 9. 2, 4, and then 6 plus 1 would eliminate the 1, 9 possibility, plus 2, 2, 4, 6, 6 plus 3 would give you 9. Constantly it's just getting you back to a 1, 9 possibility, and it can't be a 1, 9 possibility, and I can't care to go any further with this. I'm hoping that somehow I got lucky and this is right, but obviously I didn't consider every possibility, and this will just be explained in hint 2. So in one of the row 3's, columns 3, 3 and 7, one of row 3 here and here must appear in the other arrow's arrow. In the other's arrow. No, it's talking about these. One of these must appear in the other's arrow in box 2. Yeah. I'm not sure I fully follow why that absolutely has to be the case, but I will concede the point. Row 3, column 7 cannot be higher, or its appearance in the row 1 and row 2, column 5. Why can the one on the right not be higher? It says row 7 cannot be higher, or its appearance here, the one digit that would appear here, and then in row 4, column 6, would prevent it from being in box 8. So we are considering the low numbers here. So this has to be a lower number, which is either 3 or 4 by my guess in that case. Not sure I would have ever seen that, however. If this is a big number and this is a big number, then there can't be any big numbers here. That's what it's trying to say. So row 3, column 3 is higher. This may just be the entirety of it, is that we had to consider also this point. Maybe the way I'm thinking of things here also is why the combinations are not working the way they should be. If I was considering, like, I've made a lot of mistakes here potentially. If this was 1, 2, and then this was 3, then this would also have to be 3, which that doesn't affect anything except for in these 2 columns, because then if this 3 happened to be here and this was 3, that would mean one of the 3's has to be here. And the combinations for this are 1, 2, 5 or 1, 3, 4. So probably this is 2, 4, 5. I mean 3, 4, 5. And then this one is probably 6, 7, 8, or 9 as a possibility. So then am I supposed to just try every single combination? Can we consider that? If this is 9, then this would be 1, 9. If this is 8, then this would be 2, 8. Is there a way to get the digits 1 here, so it would be here? No. If I got a 1 here, I mean, I can only get a 3, first of all. We know this is a lower digit, and we know the minimum is 3, so if my logic's sound, then the only options are 3 and 4. Okay. So this is either a 1, 3. Let's go ahead and mark back the possibility of a 1. A 1, 2, and a 3 here. Putting a 3 in this spot. That would eliminate 1, 2, and 3 from this spot. And then this would have to be 4, 5. Or I guess maybe it could be 3, 6. Couldn't be 2, 7. Couldn't be 1, 8. Let's see if we're right. if I'm right, this is a 9. No. And I'm not right. So this isn't a 9. Obviously it's not a 9. I'd already kind of eliminated that because we have to eliminate one, 2, 3 here to get a 3 that way. Means this is either 3, this should be a 7 or a 6. To get a 7, you could go 3, 4, and then if 3, 4 would be eliminated if I did that to make a 7. So could it be a 2, 4? 2, 4 gives you a 6, which then puts a 6 here. This would be a 1, 2. Is it 2, 6? Or 4, 6? No, we were trying to get to 7 though. It doesn't work. Man, you gotta consider like every possibility and remember every possibility. Like the entire in is to just figure out this part. Then be frustrated, I'm sure, with new surprises after that fact. In row 3, column 7, the arrow in row 1 into column 4 seems like it's repeating somewhat what it's already said. This digit appears on this. Which means this digit must be 7, 8, 9 because of row 7, 8, and 9 of column 4. Because of this, row 7, 8, and 9 of column 4, these digits. Right. Row 3, column 7 here appears on the arrow here and here. Row 3, column 3, this spot must be 7, 8, 9 because of this. So we've somehow managed to eliminate 2, 3, and 4, and 1. That somehow managed to add 9 back as a possibility. And 5 and 6 are also eliminated. So yeah, I'm totally not following the logic here, and this is inherently just going to be, I bet, every puzzle for the remainder of the sample pack is I'm going to follow the instructions as best as I think I can, but I'm going to end up failing miserably and just having to take the hints word for it. It's too many steps. It's just too complicated. I would have to pull out a piece of transparency or pen and paper, and I would expect the digital version of the game to just let me make a save state or right over this with one more possible mechanic. Sure, I could try every scenario, but I need a checklist. I need a way to know I'm trying every scenario, or I'll just go in circles. And this just seems crazy that somehow you're supposed to figure out that this has to be a high number above, so 6, 7, 8, or at least this has to be a high number. But still not really 100% sure how that even goes next. Whatever this high number is, it ends up, I think it has to end up over here. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe it could end up here. Kind of obviously isn't going to end up here. And then the combination of that high number. Well, actually, this has to be a low number, and then this low number ends up here, and then this is the higher number compared to that. Just give me the next hint. Who cares? If row 3, column 3 was 9, 9 and 1 would be in row 1, column 2. Row 1 and 2 of column 5. So this would be a 9, 1. That's what I thought was the case, and couldn't appear in the 15 cage. If row 3, column 3 was 8, it would be row 1 and 2, column 6 with 1, but then 9 would be in row 1, column 2. So it's got to be 7. Is that what we're getting at? That this needs to be a 3, 7? If a 7 was here, obviously there isn't going to be a 7 in the box anymore. But it would eliminate the 7 from being here and the 7 from being here. Since this must be a digit, at least 1 above whatever this is, does that change anything? So I imagine what's going to happen here, since we've already had 4 hints and made no concrete progress at all. I imagine the game is expecting me to actually have made some progress after this hint, and it will change what it's talking about completely in the next hint. Or even crazier, it'll say one more thing and then that the puzzle can be completely solved. But apparently this is complicated enough for them to feel that they need to write this many hints. So by following the hints, I correctly guessed that this was 7. So it's saying just mark this as 7, which I'll do. Row 3, column 3. What? So I'm looking at just like the wrong thing completely. This is not what they were even talking about. They were talking about this every time they were saying row 3, column 3. And see, this is in part my fault, and in part just their terrible system of having the rows and columns both be numbered. I'm literally just working on an Excel sheet, a Google Sheets Excel sheet, while recording on this, and just a little simple housekeeping side project. And yeah, I would never make this mistake had they just made the columns letters instead of numbers. So instead of row 3, column 3, it would just say 3 A or B or C. Actually, it would be C in this case. Number 3, capital C. If it got backwards and misread, still no way to mess that up, or it's harder to mess that up at least. And you generally don't have to put any symbols in between it, which, if this was targeting mobile phones, as a Sudoku game should, saving even 2 characters by saying 3C would be helpful. Alright, so it's saying this is 7. Let's check and see if that is at least right. Okay. Before we go any further, let's go back and ask all the questions again. Kind of not getting hint 1 or 2 completely. Row 3, column 7 appears on the arrow of row 1 and 2, column 4. Meaning that this has to be a bigger number than this. So we can also now eliminate like 8 and 9 as possibilities. Row 3, column 3 must be a 7, 8, 9 because of row 7, 8, and 9, column 4. Which the possibilities here are 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 as possibilities. But the only guaranteed number is 1, which would eliminate the 1, and we had to get a 7, or to get an 8, for instance here, you could go 2, 6. And then the combination here could be 1, 3, 4. That seems like that would have worked. To get a 9, you could have gone not 4, 5. 4, 5 would eliminate both possibilities to get to 9. 2, 7 though would still let this be 1, 3, 4. So then the only reason why this must not be 2, 7 if this was 9 is that the 2 can't appear here and the 7 can't appear here. But if this was 9, the 7 could appear here. So yeah, I'm not following it. I'm not following it at all. I think I probably would follow this, that if this was 9, then 9 and 1 would be in here, and that's what I assumed that would be the case, and I was wrong about that. I can tell now. And then, because then that would get rid of the 1, which I think is implying that this gets rid of the 1 in particular, because this is going to be the exact same numbers, the exact same combo. So once we solve this, it's just the exact same thing here, and that means this number has to be different from this number, but complementary to this number in some way. So yeah, that's going to get complicated when we get to it. If this was 8, it would have the 1 here and then 9 here, which wouldn't work. Next hint. So this is 7. Then row 3, 4, 5, and 6. All 4 of these of column 4 must be 6, 7, 8, and 9 quadruples. So what is it telling me that these numbers are? If this is a 6, 7, 8, and 9 quadruple. If that's the solution, are we still in a situation where we just don't know what's going on here? Either this is 2, 5, or this is 3, 4, but it can't be 6, 7, 8. Which I could probably have guessed that at this point, but wouldn't have guessed it any earlier. So this is... should try a different system here. I should probably do something like this. Negative pink. So now, instead of sharing spaces, which labeling two things that share space has never been useful, we can just use the black background to indicate it is a complement or the opposite of whatever the solid colors are. Okay, so it says that these are quadruple. Why not? Let's go ahead and mark them. Now here's the problem though. Immediately you have real instance of splits. So if I really was going to mark this, probably need to do something crazy like that. Just use all 3 of the grays and assume I would never use all 3 of the grays in any other situation. And that makes like a cosmopolitan, or not a cosmopolitan, what am I thinking of? Like a banana split. Yeah. Big difference between those two things. Ah, man, I'm brain drained and have a sleep, I think. So that's a quadruple, and all C, row 3, column 7, and row 4, column 6. Row 3, column 7 should be here, and row 4, column 6. Okay, those 2 spots. All of these numbers, they somehow see this in some way. And I guess that is true because these 3 numbers influence this because they're in the same box. This number influences this because it's in this, which that would inherently eliminate 6 from being a possibility and leave you down to 3, 4, 5. Alright, I even made that deduction by myself without reading it first. Of course, you have to trust me on that one, since it was on the screen. There are several times here where the hint will be on the screen, but my eyes are just not pointing in that direction. it is pretty easy to ignore it. So that gets that down to 3, 4, 5. So then it wants me to brute force this and just figure out something. It says 3 and 4 won't allow the fill in row 1 and 2, column 4, 5, and 6. So it seems like at this point they expect you to consider every scenario, but the scenarios are, I guess, at least easier. A 1 and 2 here gives you a 3, puts a 3 here, puts a 4 here, makes that 7. 3 and 4, and 1 and 2. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 eliminates all possibilities on these. So 1 and 2 are not possibilities. We'll get rid of the 1 then. Or if we can't get rid of the 1, we'll get rid of the 3. Okay. Then 4. We don't have 3 marked as an option here, but let's pretend we do. 3 and 1 would give us 4. And then 4 and 3 would have to be repeated to give us 7. So 4 can't be filled in either. And that's as far as we have to really investigate. These are 5. Okay. That means then 3 and 4 can be eliminated from this spot, because we know that's now a 2 or 5. So we should consider the options now. 2 has been eliminated. We know it's not a 2 and 8. To get to 5, let's see, it would have to be 2 and 3. If it was 2 and 3, then the 2 would be here. That's fine. And then the 7 and the 3 would add up. Let's try the only other combination to get to 5 now, which would be 1 and 4. We put a 1 and 4 here. Then that eliminates this and this. And then 1 and 4 goes to 5. Then this becomes 2. 2 and 5. Meaning the 7 has to go here. And then the 3 has to go here. And then the 3 here. Couldn't have been the 3 if this was 2 and 3. So this has to be 1 and 4. Possibly. Just possibly. I am now back on the rails enough to have a chance. We can take all those doubles and eliminate any number that we have paired in here, since we know about them already. We can also eliminate 5. We could have eliminated 7. And then noticeably this 7 also doesn't belong. So we've got our 6, 8, 9 here. This is a 7. We should already know that. So things have to be different now. Like, I think we have to move around. If we know this is 2 and 5, then this can't be 1, 2, and 5. So 1, 2, and 5. That's not what I meant to do. 1, 2, and 5. That's a 1, 3, 4. Now. And I think that means we can go ahead and eliminate maybe some coloring. Yeah, and we can just kind of leave that as a combo there and get rid of that. Draw our attention now to the pairs that we're still focusing on. Could also get rid of those markings. Eliminating the 7 here of possible combinations, and the 5 actually may severely reduce the possibilities, but we're not ready for that. It's pretty obvious that the answer is in this. Whatever the combination is to make 7 here means that the combination here is going to be different. Can go ahead and just eliminate 3s and 7s from all possibilities. Three could be here, 3 could be here still. So if this was 8, and it probably is just worth testing this, we don't know if this needs to be a bigger number or a smaller number. The combinations at this point imply that there's probably 2 big numbers here, which I don't know if it just worked out this way, or if it has to be the case that one of the numbers has to be smaller than one of the other numbers here, and one of the other numbers has to be smaller than one of the other numbers here. Or if that just happened to work that way. If this was 8, then a 2 and a 6, or let's see, let's start with just 1 and 7. A 1 and a 7 and an 8 here would then put an 8 here, or put an 8 in this spot. If this was 8 as the small number, yeah, we need a lower digit, so we need this to end up being 3 or 4. And everything here says this has to be 6 or 9. Can't. Yeah, we need a 3 to be here. And we need this to be 3, 7 again, don't we? Which would mean we need this to be 5. Or we need it to work in some completely different direction. And if it was a 3, 7, it can't be that. So what the heck is going on? 6 here, And then what? I've either made a huge mistake, or for some insane reason, we're 86 minutes into this puzzle. This one rotated 90 degrees. It's just not being held to the same rules, which maybe that is because of this part. So maybe there is just no connection here at all. So let's try it with just how would I think of this without trying to emulate our progress, or the hints progress to this point. If I would say 3-7 is out. I would say 1-9 is viable, 2-8 is viable, and 4-6 is viable. And noticeably, whatever this digit is will eliminate one other possibility, or whatever this combo is will eliminate a possibility here. So is there some kind of synergy between what this is and this is? If we've got it down to this has to be 6, 8, 9, this here being 6, I think makes this either 8 or 9, which then a combo here could get it down to one of those two. So I don't think I'm on the right path. I think looking over here is wrong. So the next question, I guess, inevitably would be, what is another path we could consider? I can come over here, remove 1s, and I can remove 2s, not 2s. I can remove 1s, I can remove 3s, I can remove 4s. All those possibilities. That gets that down to a 2-5. Still don't think this would affect this, or this would affect this. We could look at these combinations possibly, but if this was like 1, 2, 6, 9, I don't think that synergizes in any way. And then if this was like 1, 2, 7, 8, it wouldn't synergize. If it was 1, 3, and I had a 1 and a 3 side by side like this, that wouldn't eliminate enough possibilities. I kind of would need a 1-3 pairing this way, where it could be both 1 or 3. So unless I had something that maybe it was 1, 3, 4, I think no combination there changes. Nothing changes there. We do know this can't be 2, 5, so this is either going to be 1, 6 or 3, 4. So we can at least get that down to that spot. If this was 3, 4, then this would have to be 7. If this is 1, 6, this would have to be 4. We can select all of these here. Remove the 5s here. If this is 5, then all of these spots here can't be 5. Weirdly, seems like the game is doing kind of a poor job of cleaning up the things I've labeled. So now we have a 3 here or a 3 here, which would eliminate the 3s in this spot and eliminate the 3s in this spot. Seriously doubt though we are anywhere close to doing just basic Sudoku. I would practically have a heart attack if that turned out to be the case. It's just an incredibly gated level of progress. So we've gotten up to hint 5, and maybe I understand everything, but probably not. The hint number 1, I think, still may be somewhat of a pain. We can't do a smart. And yeah, I think if I just reset this puzzle from scratch, I still would struggle to get to the point where hint 1 wants you to get to. As far as thinking about low digits have to be in like low digits here, 1 through 5 being here because of this killer box. Which that's not even really what it's saying. It's saying the way the interaction between this and this with box 2 is all it tells you on that first hint. Row 1, row 2, column 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so the next hint says row 1 in column 2 and row 1 and 2 in column 6. Let's make sure we're talking about this. Must be 1, 4. True, we got there. Row 1 and 2 of column 4 must be 2, 5. We got there. Row 1 and 2 must be 3, 7. This is another typo. Yeah, here it says row 1 and 2 column 4 must be 2, 5, and then it says and row 1 and 2. It means column 5, but the C5 is just totally missing. So I wouldn't be surprised if these handwritten notes are literally handwritten notes that somebody is just typing up. Or, I mean, even if you were typing up your own handwritten notes, I could understand how you might not pay much attention to it and you may just straight up type the wrong thing. And inherently, I would heavily suspect Cracking the Cryptic is extremely adept at math, which the general philosophy there is if you're a specialist at math, you tend to be pretty bad at English and the languages. Which would also explain quite a bit. But yeah, so we got this to 3, 4 because 3 must now be in row 5, which is column 6 and 7. row 5 is here. Columns 6 and 7 is what they're talking about. This eliminates that and makes that have to be 3 here. The 7 in box 4 must be in row 6, column 1 and 2. Alright, so we'll take that to the next step. 7 must be here. And 8 or 9 is in row 7, column 3. Okay. So if one of these has to be 7, then obviously the solution must be bigger than 7. So 8 or 9 are the only possibilities, which makes this the smaller number in this case, and this the bigger number, but I'm not sure that matters too much. And also can let me take a moment to get rid of 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. This multi-select is still a nightmare. It just does not work well. So yeah, I'm trying to get to a 1, 2, 7 here, and then that's just a total mess, or that should be 8 and 9 is the possibilities there, which we could also mirror those since those aren't mirrored. Okay. So that still makes this triple basically a triple still. And yeah, same as here, row 5, column 1 and 2. Weirdly, they're saying that this has to be 8 or 9. Which would lose the 4, 6 as a possibility. Could also get rid of the 8 possibilities here. I'm not following the logic though. Why, if this is 8 and 9, does the 8 and 9 have to be here? I guess inherently we still are following the same logic that if this was 8, then this can't be 8, this can't be 8, and then yeah, like this 8 would blank all these, this 8 would blank all these, and then that would mean the 8 has to end up here, which we know can't be the case, or end up here, which we know has to be the case. Same is true for the 9. Exact same pattern. Okay. But it's not 8 and 9, obviously. To add up to 10, it's either 1 and 2. And so then I guess the question is, if a 1 and 7 adds up to 8, this would be 8 and 2. And this would have to be 3 and 4. So that seems like that works. If a 2 and 7 added up to 9, then this would have to be a 9 and 1. And then to get to 7 from 9 and 1, you could go 2 and 5. Well, no, 2 and 5 though would interfere with 2 and 7 to get to 9 in the first place. 3 and 4, if this is 9 and 1 and this is 2 and 7. Seems like we are ending up with different numbers. The same numbers overall, but in different pairings. Unfortunately, I just can't wrap my head at the moment around all those combinations. Let's just hit the next hint and hope it explains further. They have been doing a very nice job explaining everything up until this point. This uses up the 1 and 2 between row 5, column 1 and 2, and row 6, column 1 and 2. So run row 4, column 1 and 2 are 3 and 4. Yeah. It's pretty disingenuous though to not show all the combinations. Yep. Show the math here. 5 in the 15 cage must be in row 7, column 5. Apparently we figured that out when we figured out these 5s here, and that seems like that's just a side note. Okay. So I wonder, yeah, I guess we just can't go any further with that. This is 3 and 4 in some way, which eliminates these two. And then this could be 1 and 9. And if this is 1 and 9, then this would be 2 and 7. Or it could be 2 and 8. Which would then be 1 and 7 to get to 9. 1 and 7 to get to 8. Or 2 and 7 to get to 9. Yeah. I don't think we can go any further. And the 5 here and the 5 here doesn't tell us anything new. Does the 5 here tell us anything new? Is there a combination? Yes, here. There's something here. This 5 influences this area. This 5 influences this area. That means this cube has to have a 5 in it somewhere. So we can eliminate every single combination that doesn't include a 5 to begin with. And if a 5 occurs here, and this was a 5-9, would that be a problem? It would just confirm where the 9 is. Then a 9, if this is an 8-9 pairing up here, which are we 100% sure it's 8-9 pairing? No, this is just very poorly labeled. I didn't go back and solve this correctly. Should be 1, remove the 8 as an option, or it should be 2 and 8. That's much nicer. But I do have to kind of remind myself that if I see 2 completely different digits in black in the upper part, that's a possible combination. And whereas in other cases, a number at the top means that the number has to be there, or if it's in red, it can't be there. Which also we could remove that. If one of these has 5 in it, does it eliminate any other numbers now? I don't think so. I think there's still a possibility any 3 other digits could be there. We could point out that amongst these, there should be a 5. Does this 5 potentially being in here change anything? Trying to see if there's some basic Sudoku that could help us here. I'm going quiet also. Notice. If a 5 has to be here, then 5 can't be here. Okay, that's cleaning it up a little bit, but then there's still just way too many places, way too many options, way too many places. I guess if this is a 7 here, then these can't be 7s. Then we really just don't know anything about that. Otherwise, other than there has to be a 5 in that 4 square. Then, if these are 6, 8, 9s here, that's the only possibilities, then 6, 8, and 9 should be removed from those possibilities, which weirdly I think by doing some cleanup and just basic Sudoku I may have... No, I haven't done anything, have I? You have a quadruple, yes. Here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know all those numbers are there. but that would just eliminate the possibility of 1, 2, 3, 4 being here. I'd need the quadruple to be in the same box to eliminate the other options. So these can't be 5s here. Just trying to think of all of this. Trying my very best to actually be an intelligent person and actually solve the puzzle without just cheating or relying on all the cheats. Intelligent person's probably the wrong phrase to use, though, too. Just because you're not particularly good at Sudoku does not mean you couldn't be intelligent in many, many other ways. In fact, there's way more ways you can be intelligent than having to prove it through a fairly obscure pen and paper puzzle game. And I would say the vast majority of people on the planet Earth actually either don't know how to do Sudoku puzzles at all or aren't likely to describe themselves as being good at it. We could continue down this path too, I think. Like, if this minimum number is 2, then an 8 here can't be right. If the minimum number here is 2, then an 8 here can't be right either. And so then it gives you an opportunity of 2 and 7 to be 9, or a 2 and 6 to be 8, or 2 and 6 to be 8, which then tells me the minimum number here has to be 8. So that gets us way down. If we could prove basically the same information over here and make this an 8, 9 at some point, then we know 8, 9s have to be in these 2 spots and would be removed from all the other cubes and then all the other cells. Oh, I did want to say, in several episodes ago, I talked about how it was strange that there wasn't like a portable version of a Sudoku board with like dice that you could like shuffle it with a lid over it and then you'd get a randomized Sudoku puzzle, although inherently if you shuffled the dice and got random numbers, that might not actually be a solvable Sudoku. I did look it up to see if something had like that had been invented, and while it's not dice related, they do make and sell quite a few portable Sudoku board game, kind of like chessboards made out of wood with little flat wooden tiles. And in all fairness, flat wooden tiles would take considerably less space than a dice would, but you are then making custom tiles with the numbers 1 through 9 on them, which isn't that odd. If this is 1, 4, there is actually some more spots then that could be reduced. And if this is 3, 7, that's fine. And if this is 2, 5, that's Fine. There is quite a lot of cleanup here that should have happened. So we have like 5 digits here that should all be 1, 2, 6, 8, 9. Yep. And then we don't really know about this, and we don't really know about this. And we shouldn't really have any info on any of these. But that is more cleanup than I thought we could do. This definitely feels more solvable at this point. So I'll give it another attempt. Just look for basic Sudoku things. I suspect there still is a speed bump, that there is still a trick that has to be solved and discovered. And see, these kinds of phases that I'm running into where I'm just stymied and have no idea what the next step is or where to look for the next step, they seem to be completely non-existent when Cracking the Cryptic solves puzzles. And this whole series has weirdly been more talking about Cracking the Cryptic, the YouTube channel, than actually directly or exclusively talking about Cracking the Cryptic, the free to start Steam game, which is what I'm playing. But yeah, he definitely, the 2 streamers, the main guy on the Cracking the Cryptic channel, which I don't know his name, nor do I think I'd ever bother to memorize it. He definitely seems like he's never at a loss for moves or for the next thought, whereas I definitely am. Row 7. So the hint that we got from hint 7 told us to put a 5 here. From that spot, from putting that 5 there, we made a lot of cleanup. We may not have actually locked in any numbers though. And we still can't get a smart hint, so yeah. So what's hint number 8? Usually there are only about 8 hints. So we kind of have to be close to the end of the gimmicks in the trick and approaching what will just be a long period of time in which we just do basic Sudoku, which again, it would be kind of nice if there's some kind of flag that gets triggered once it is just all basic Sudoku and you can just watch an animation solve it for you, kind of like how FreeCell on Microsoft Windows just moves all the pieces for you once you've gotten the stacks in a good enough position. Okay, so it says the arrow in box 8. Let's stop right there and see if there's possibly anything new I can do with the arrow in box 8. I don't think so, I've already done it. Must contain 2 in either 6 or 7. Yep, we got that far. The low digit from row 5, column 1 and 2, is in row 6, column 5. How you get to that? I mean, how is that sentence even connected to this must either be 2 or 6? It's like I need to state one thing, then I need to state a completely different thing, and then those two completely different things are going to be added together to do some kind of amazing thing. Alright, so it is saying that this is somehow connected to the low digit here, that it's either 1 or 2, guess can't be 4. In what way? How is that the case? I guess it's because, and I see it now, but I would have never figured this out. If this is 2, it eliminates all the 2's, then the only place for a 2 is here. If this is 1, it eliminates all the 1's, the only place for the 1 is there. It's probably worth pairing those up to highlight that. This is that weird kind of pinwheel logic that I'm seeing more of and failing to see. Okay. So if we evaluate, if that has to be the case, then the question would be, if this is 2, this would be 6, and then this could be 2, and then this would be 8, and then this would be 2, one of these 2 would be, which would eliminate all of these, and I don't think really do anything else. It would just remove 2's from the possibilities. It would mean one of these would have to be a 2. And I don't think anything else happens because of that. Let's try the other scenario then, since I'm not deriving the conclusion from that. If this was 1, then one of these would have to be 1, the other would have to be 9. That would eliminate 1's here. It would make one of these digits have to be 1. I think what we're supposed to be focusing on, though, is if this was 1, then this could be 2, and this could be 8. Or this could be 2 and 6, or 2 and 7, leaving both options, 8 or 9. And an 8 or 9 being here, I think just doesn't affect anything. So let's go past the comma here. They said that the low digit here is here. The low digit from these are here. So row 6 here. No, this row 6. This is row 6. Has a 1, 2, 7 triple. And row 6, column 9 is 3, 4, 6, 8. How do we get to that 1, 2, 7 triple? We need 3 spots here. That would indicate a 1, 2, 7 triple. We have 2 1, 2, 7s. And so how can we get a 7 anywhere here? I don't get it. Seems like it's probably one of those triples that isn't actually going to be 1, 2, and 7. It's just going to be a factor that this can't be 4. And boy, does it seem like it would have been easier to just say that the low digit from this spot must be this, so it must be 1 or 2, and thus with 127 that makes a triple, because if this is 1, then this would be 2 7. If this is 2, this would be 1 7. Then all of that plays a row to then remove 1s and 2s and 7s. Then that should leave row 6, column 9 as being 3, 4, 6, 8, but I have a 5 here, so where did we get rid of the 5 from? Interesting question. This one can't be 349. So it has to be either 169 or 268. I'm not sure which. It's probably worth marking these now. That looks nicer, at least. But how are we getting rid of the 5 here? You know, one of these has to be a 5. But what stops this from being a 5? Or, yeah. What stops this from being a 5? Here, and then this being a 5 here. I don't see anything that would stop that. What would potentially be the problem with a 1 and a 5 and this being 6? Row 6, column 9 should be 3, 4, 5, 6. At what point did we mention a 5? The 5 in the 15 cage must be in row 7, column 5. Was there a 5 that was even mentioned before that? It really feels like it's just jumped the logic here. It's just intentionally jumped the logic. I can only eliminate in this square, by the way, things that would be both 5, 8, 9. So I'd have to have a combination that was 8 and 9. And that's not the case. Suppose if there was a 1, 6 here, in these two, and a 1, 6 here, in these two, still probably wouldn't affect anything, because this could be like 1 here, and this could be 1 here, and then I could put a 1 here, and that would still work. And then a 6 here if it was 1 6 as an option over here. And the 6 here would block this and block this, but it wouldn't stop a 6 from being here. So I don't think there's a way that this 4 square can ever be clamped down and lose a combination. I think it literally is the opposite direction. This 4 square clamps down and locks down the solutions here. But that still does not help at all to explain why there can't be a 5 here. So we're 133 minutes in, or thereabout. Let's just take their word for it. That's supposed to be 3486. Okay. If there was 3 places, and only 3 places, that could have 3468 in the location, then I'd get rid of 3468 in the rest of this box. I guess that's what we're going for. The low digit in row 5, column 1 and 2, this low digit forms a 1, 2, 3, 4 virtual quadruple in row 5. I guess that's... I don't fully follow this. Yeah, a 1 here is a virtual quadruple with this 1, 2, 4, this 2, 3, and this 1, 2, 3, 4. And I guess that's the phrase to use, is virtual quadruple. It must be in row 5, column 9. Seven must be in row 5, column 9. How? Why? Why is this not valid for 7? Is it because now we got this down to 3, 4, 6, 8? I guess that's the case. That would make sense. Okay, we'll mark that. Does that all of a sudden change things by great numbers? I don't think so. Imagine it doesn't change much of anything at all. Row 5, column 8 must at least be at least 5 because of the virtual quadruple. So it has to be 5, 6, 8, which then limits us down to, can't believe it, it gets it down to 8, 9. Let's try this again. So 5, 6, 8 I think is right there. And then because 5 is the minimum, 5 plus 3, which is the minimum here, is 8, 9. I think also, if you were going to continue down this thought for a second, there are probably some maximums here that just don't work anymore. 5 plus 8 doesn't work. 5 plus 6 doesn't work. 8 plus 3 is 11. 8 plus 4 is 12. So 8 doesn't work. 6 plus 3 works. 5 plus 4 works. And so yeah. You should leave it that way though, because this may be 5 plus 3 to get 8, or 5 plus 4 to 9, 6 plus 3. It's also a possibility. We don't know a specific pair. But we do know now that 8 and 9 cannot be in this puzzle, in this quad. And we can clean up at the very least by removing 8s and 9s. Makes that a little bit more readable. We can also run a calculator here in that we have 5 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we are looking for 18 minus 45. 15 minus 45 would be 30. Minus 3 more would be 27. And then we are looking for something that would include both 8 and 9 as a combination there. Maybe we have to bounce things backwards between this. The first combination here would be 1, 2, 7. Do we have a 1, 2, 7 possibility here? No. Let's see. The second combination would be 1, 3, 6. Doesn't keep my information, does it? Let's go ahead and say not 1, 4, 5 either, because really don't even have to go back and look. That there's. I've also eliminated several other possibilities, and I hope I was correct about that. You know the 8 9s are correct, but 1, 4, 6 and 7 might be right. And 2, 3, 6, 7 might be right. Didn't we see that 1, 4, 6 was a possibility? But I'm doing this backwards, aren't I? We're looking for the numbers that would be the complement, the opposite of what are the possible combinations here. So if you eliminate 8, 9 as all possibilities, the digits that are left in this combination are 1, 4, 6. So the digits left there could be 2, 3, 5, 8, and 9. But we don't have to consider 8 and 9, we already know that. So 2, 3, 5, or 1, 4, 5, or 1, 3, 6, or 1, 2, 7. So 1, 2, 7 seems good. 1, 3, 6 seems good. 1, 4, 5 seems good. 1, 4, 6 sounds good. I got nothing. I don't think you can actually solve that from there. So either I'm going to be proven completely wrong in the next hint, or there's some other step that has to happen here, because it seems like really what I'm doing is I'm just comparing the two possibilities, and lots of them are always going to match up until you have at least one digit locked in, and then maybe if you have one digit locked in, that helps you, but maybe you need 3 digits in this scenario to be locked in. Still kind of feels like this might be the last place we fill in, although in fairness there's no progress been made up here in these sections. Alright, row 5, column 8 must be at least a 5, so row 7, column 8 is 8, 9. 4 can be placed in box 5. Okay. Why? This is not a hint, this is just a statement. 4 can be placed in box 5. Is that because there's literally no other place for a 4? I guess that is the case. That must have just happened at some point without them mentioning it, or... Alright. So, if it's 169 or 268 up here, then 4 has to be one of these. I don't think that helps us. 6 must be in row 4. In the row 4 16 cage. 6 must be here because of the overlap of 169 and 268. We know this has to be 6. Okay, I wouldn't have seen that. My labeling system is not really accounting for that. I really do need like a 3rd, possibly even a 4th or 5th way of marking things. And frankly, really this should just be like a plus button you can click. You could like right click, whoops, that you potentially could just right click a cell and bring up a menu and type an entire note into it. And then it would put just a little plus icon in the lower right hand corner that you could hover over for more information. This is also a game where perhaps voice notes would even make sense. Although, I guess that comes down to how many people really would have a microphone that they would trust to allow some random Steam game to use. There are actually incredibly few games that actually use a microphone other than for player versus player voice chat. And yeah, there's not really a lot of other imaginative ways. There's one from many years ago that was supposed to have voice controls and didn't work that well. And probably 2 or 3, maybe even 5 or 6. 6 must be here, is what it said. So let's take the word for it and say that can't be 6. And then that can't be 6. Okay. So then row 5, column 8 here is 5. Okay, so 6 must be here, so change this. Don't really clean up over there. Although, it doesn't hurt to clean up over there. But that is kind of a great example of where you can just be looking one direction and they could be implying another direction. At least the smart hints have little titles where this would be like a box exclusion or something like that. Right, whatever. Let's maintain progress, maintain momentum. This is already going to be way too long. Okay. That eliminates that from being a 5, these two from being a 5, which means this has to be a 5, which does not really change anything else other than, I guess we could look at all the possible combinations on this one and eliminate 2 because we now know it must have a 5 in it. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 should be the possibilities. Let's see. Which, that doesn't mean this has to be a 7 though, because it could be the other combination. Okay. And that doesn't tell me whether this is a 3 or 4. So we're at the hint 10 and still seems like there's just more processing that needs to happen. Coloring 8 9s. So if I just colored these two 8 9s, which, how would I color these 8 9s if I was going to do this? I would pick a color, and then I would pick a color, and then I would invert it with the 3 grays like that. And then that would be my system to say, if I see 3 grays, since I never use grays, and I almost never would have, and I've never run into a scenario so far that required me to color things 3 times, you know that these are the opposite of each other. But do you really need to do that in that case? Because that's just a pair, and that's what we've been doing anyways with pairs, is that we have just been coloring pairs like this always, and it's always been the case that one would be an 8, one would be a 9. It shows that row 6, column 7 here, and row 2, what? Column 9 row 6, column 7, row 2, column 9 must be the same. These two, for some reason, must be the same as row 7, column 8. And row 2, column 8. How? How is this correct? If the only option here was supposed to be 8 9, and this was supposed to be 8 9, which I can see possibly the 6 is being removed here because of that. That still doesn't explain the 3s and the 4s being removed. Do we have another 3-4 pair in this row, or even a 3-4 triple that would tell me 3s and 4s have to go? And honestly, if 3-4 had been removed, then one of these would have had to been 3. This would have had to been 4. This would have had to been 3. And we're not talking about that yet. So there must be some other logical reason. If this is an 8 It eliminates all of those 8s as a possibility. Okay. And then we would need an 8 either here or here. I just couldn't care. I just can't care anymore. Well, let's just follow the instructions. I don't understand why this would be the case. Why all of a sudden all of these digits are supposed to be the same. Bunch of digits here, probably not all the ones I've highlighted, are supposed to be the same. In the end, this says that row 2, column 8 is supposed to be an 8, 9. So let's type in that. And then maybe we can step back and figure out how they got to that point. Coloring the 8s and 9s shows that row 6, that would be here, column 7, and row 2, column 9 must be the same. I don't know how you'd even have the inkling to color in 8s and 9s though at that point. Just seems like that was an arbitrary decision. And I guess it is because of the pressure of this 8-9 system. If this is an 8, it eliminates all the 8s here and makes this a 9, that makes this an 8. And then that would make this a 9, which then there couldn't be, in that scenario, an 8 anywhere else but here. If this was a 9, that eliminates 9s from these positions, makes this an 8, which then makes this a 9, which then makes this an 8, which makes that a 9. I would never have figured that out. In part, definitely because it's just not. It just wouldn't be something you'd even consider. This block here, in particular, has every single possible digit in it with the exception of 7, and it would have probably started off with a 7. So it's only been reduced once. And see, I might actually even be wrong about all of that. I'm assuming that this and this are 8-9s, but I've gotta be wrong about that, or I don't have to be right about it. No, it would have to be 8-9s, wouldn't it? So let's just go ahead and mark them. As crazy as it may seem, that's got to be the case. And if that is the case, then we can also remove 8s and 9s from that group because we have yet another pair there. Then we can also remove 8s and 9s from that spot, because we have a pair there. We could also remove 8s and 9s from that spot. Yeah, there's just kind of a massive leap there. And we can remove 8s and 9s from that. Just kind of a massive leap of logic and steps. Several steps must have happened. If I had any more extra time, which I really don't have enough extra time to even be doing this series by. This has been a huge waste of time. But if I was going to get really ambitious about wasting my time, I would watch the Cracking the Cryptic episodes that solve these puzzles and try and compare them and watch them to my own episodes, just step by step, just to see what was going on. And yeah, that's probably what this game could have that would be most unique, is if behind here was straight up just a clip, YouTube clip player basically, or YouTube short player. Probably a clip player would be the best, or just a video clip player not connected to YouTube at all, but just take your YouTube videos, effectively break them up into clips. Every time the opponent Cracking the Cryptic makes a move, you can skip to that move and watch it, and then it would just automatically pause. You would probably need to make tutorial videos though, not just take the videos, his first glance videos that he makes on YouTube, but you could still integrate it better. At the very least, you could have these puzzles have in their description a mention of the YouTube video's name that he solved them in for comparison, so you could just go to his YouTube page and watch them and Google the name of the title, search the name of the title. Alright, let's just keep going. This is going to take forever if I'm not careful. Row 2, column 9 is 8, 9. The 7 in box 3 is in row 1 and 2 of column 7, which then means this. And this can't be a 7, which means possible combinations here have to include a 7. Right. So that means the odd man out here would be 3 and 6. That makes this have to be a 7. If that changes anything. Then the calculator here should not include any combination that has 2, 4, 5, or 7 in the name for this 5-digit 27. So not that one, 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 that one, that one, that one, that one, or that one. This is the only combination that does not have 2 or 4 or 5 or 7 in the numbers, which we can remove the 8, 9 at the end here and then just turn this into a 1, 3, 6 triple. Two, and 4. Which means we can just bring that down to 247. No, I don't think I actually can, because it's a triple. So that doesn't help us any further. Of course, at any point we might just have some basic Sudoku solution being the solution to everything else. If this was 5-9, that would still be fine. If this was 6-8, that would still be fine. If this was 1-6, it would still be fine. If this was 3-4, that would be fine. So we still have no clue. Let's see, 7 in box 3 is in column 1 or 2. And now row 7, column 7 and 9, which sum up to 10. Well, no. This one, and this one sum up to 10. I guess you could do the secret a little bit easier by adding 8 and 9 together to 18, so that would be 35. Then you could just have a 10 combination with 3 digits. Which, oh yeah, I guess that would have been way easier since we knew 8 and 9 was already there. And then we would have just done the same thing and eliminated anything that had a 4 or 2 or 7 or 5 in it. We would have gotten to that spot. Okay, we're solving some of these steps, or at least mostly solving some of these steps without help. And then our final hint, which either is going to take me over the finishing line or start the race towards the finishing line, really, is either going to help, or there's just well, it's either going to help or it's not, but it's probably going to help, and then there's just going to be a massive amount of Sudoku. And so I'm going to want to look at the timer after we solve this, where they get to the point where the rest of the puzzle can now be completed. The 6 in row 6, column what? It's blank. The 6 in row 6, which, where would the 6 be? Here, or here, or here? Those are 3 options. Column, yeah. Clearly, this should have been the 6, and maybe have the word the 6 in row 6 must be in row 6, column 6 here. Why is that the case? Because there's a 6 here, and this should not have been a 6 in the first place. And then I have no clue why this can't be 6. We know this can't be 6, so either this or this has to be 6. If this was a 6, then this would be a 6. I think, yeah. Alright, so that one we know is wrong. Get rid of that. The 6 has to be up here. That eliminates that. And then 6 could be here, or by my guesstimate, it could be here. If the 6 was here, that would eliminate that, and then the 6 would be there, and that seems perfectly fine. If the 6 was here, since these are the only places where the 6 can be, we can get rid of those 6s, and then that's a better vision of it. Do 1-3-6 combo here. I don't think changes anything. And we've had like this 1-3-4 combo for a super long time. If this wasn't 6-8, if this was 5-9 instead, then the 6 would be here. That's still very doable. Let's see, 6 in row 6 must be in row 6, column 6, and row 7, column 6, which sees an 8-9 pair. I don't see how that even could be true. How could a 6 be in row 6, column 6, and row 7, column 6? Those two would conflict. This is just another poorly written note. Yeah, I don't think I could stick with this as a game. I mean, the massive amount of time it's taken me to solve these Sudoku puzzles already quickly killed the possibility of me staying with Sudoku. But I don't even think I could come back to this game at this point. There's just far too many typos. I think it's gone past the level of being just slightly irksome to just straight up unprofessional to have a product that you expect consumers to buy even DLC for, even if it is free to start, to have so many typos and so much just poorly worded hints. I think it's very possibly a case that the Cracking the Cryptic YouTube channel is leaning extremely hard on the assumption that their audience is big enough and smart enough to just catch all these mistakes and fix it for them, which seems to not really be happening, or they just don't care. Maybe it's Studio Goya as an actual game developer instead of just a mathematician YouTuber that's in the middle there, and maybe they're dropping the ball. But clearly, somebody in charge of making the video game here is dropping the ball as far as quality. And it's ruining the fun that could have been found for a player like me that is going to need hints. That there is, I think, way too much of an assumption that people who are great at Sudoku are going to be your target audience for a game like this, when it needs to be for people that maybe are good at Sudoku but not perfect at Sudoku. Like, that is far too small of an audience of people. Yeah, and I really do think that Cracking the Cryptic, his perception on what an average level of difficulty on a Sudoku puzzle is just way off, way off from reality. So it's saying a 6 here would see an 8-9 pair. So this sees an 8-9 pair here and here. Okay, I can follow that logic. There's an 8-9 pair here and an 8-9 pair here eliminates that. That could have happened a while ago. A 6 here would make this a 2-7 at that level. What gets rid of the 2 though? Were we at some point supposed to get a 2 here? If we got a 2 here, then this would be a 1-9 pair. Come on. We're on hint 12. This is the last step. It says this has to be 7. Is there possibly a reason why these 2 couldn't be 7? One of these 2 couldn't be 7. No, I give up. I admit defeat. This says it's a 7. We'll just put it as a 7. That seems to not lie to me. The next step and last step is the arrow in box 8 must now be 2-6. Because we said this was 6 was what we determined. Then that would make that 2. That would make that 6. Even if that was backwards, that would make that 8. Alright, look, before we go any further though, I wanted to take a note of time. 173 minutes. How much time is it going to take me now to fill in the rest of this Sudoku puzzle by just basic Sudoku, and how much of this really is getting filled in more by luck than logic on basic Sudoku, because there's entire columns and numbers here that are following the logic of what the hint said, which they clearly aren't saying everything. Would have just not touched any of the possible combinations in some places. And weirdly, we'll see if we have a smart hint that helps us. It looks like I might actually just have to guess. There's a hidden single box. 9 can only go in row 4, column 3. Nine can only go here because it's the only 9 in this box. Yeah, the written hints should be using the same phrase, hidden single in a box. Okay. Then a hidden single in the box again. 8 can only go in row 4, column 9. 8 can only go here. And then hidden single in column 7 says that 7 can only go in row 6, column 1, row 6. Column 1 is the only place where 7 can be now. Took forever to get to that point. And we know that's a 1. That's a 2. And that's a 1. Took forever to solve that also. These 10-star difficulty Sudokus are almost certainly designed so it's going to feel like you fill in all the information on the variant hints, and No, they're just gonna stay around forever until the very last thing. I guess this is a 5, and then I guess this is a 9 at that point. And then I'm just gonna have to lean on the smart hint again. There's a hidden single box. 9 can only go in row 1, column 2. Now I have nothing highlighted right now. When I hit smart hint, is it going to highlight something? No. 8 can only go in row 1, column 1. Eight can only go in row 5, column 2. Could also have done that too without using a smart hint. Actually, this may not just take that long because it's pretty easy to do basic Sudoku and just look for the dangling singles. 5 can only go in row 6, column 3. That's a 3-4 pair. That's a 3-4 pair. 5 can only go here. Makes that a 2. That makes that a 5. We've got all the 8s done. Then that means 5 here. Should be a last 5. And I guess I could probably do basic Sudoku to figure out some other things here. Just look at the ones. But if I use the smart hints, that will actually be more efficient use of my time. Anyways, 2s have to be here, which means that has to be a 2. Threes here, 3 is here, 3's here. Could get rid of these 3s, I guess, and could get rid of these 6s. If we have a 3-6 here, getting rid of this 3 and this 6 doesn't feel like that quite gets you where you need to be. If it was 4-7, then I would know this would be a 1-6 here. I don't think I know that for certain. So yeah, 2 can only go in row 1, column 3. And then 6 can only go in row 2, column 1. This is actually pretty terrible way to play. So not even really trying, just using a smart hint for everything. I should be able to recognize something as a possibility. Or at least I would hope they could recognize something as a possibility. But yeah, my eyes, I suspect, are not fast enough. So this is either 1-6 or 3-4. Yeah, 3s and 4s look like they will probably be the last things we can use. There's definitely a lot more disappointment solving it just by brute force like this compared to just letting the computer do the brute force for me. So 6 can't be in any of the other spots, so that has to be 6. Then that has to be 1. Okay, 4, 1, 7, 4, 3, 7, 3, 4, 1. And that's 4 digits and 1 box done, although I guess we already had a box done here and didn't even recognize it. And I think momentum continues as we wrap around. That's another box done. 2, 4, and then a 4, 7, but the only 7 possible is here, so that's it. And that's all 7s done. So if we look at 1s now, still probably can't do anything. If we look at 2s, still can't probably do anything. If we look at 3s, well, we know what this is, don't we? That this is a 4. So then that makes that a 3. Makes that a 2. Makes that a 3. There's another box done. So we have 3 boxes here done. 3 boxes here done. And then it's very last thing here. And I think I might have been right in the fact that I don't think this killer box or this killer box put any pressure on this 2x2 killer box. 1, and then 4s, and then 1s, and then 4s, and then we should be done. Let's very quickly just get rid of the coloring and show what the map looks like. I don't think there's any need at all to go over the hints though. Where I struggled, and there's really just no point in looking at them again. There's some kind of major concepts at the beginning I definitely struggled with, but eventually there was just things that these 10 hints were skipping. I think concepts at least were being skipped for these 12 hints, if not completely large sections of moves that would have been based on some logical process that's just not being mentioned or even hinted at. There's potentially a system here where the hints could be considered this hint to solve it, then look at all the rows. You should find at least well, maybe you should make it even easier than that. You should say you should find at least 1 digit match on your own, or 2 matches, 3 matches, 4 matches. If I just knew how many steps in between one sentence and the other should be done. But then really that just highlights that a lot of these hints need to be broken up into very small discrete hints. Anyways, it's kind of pointless to continue whining. Let's just finish it. 185 minutes. It, I believe, was about 12 minutes of just boring old basic Sudoku once we had gotten to the point where the final hint said the rest of the puzzle can be solved. if you could have saved me 12 minutes of gameplay by just playing a little animation where the mouse cursor moved without me touching it, and it changed all the numbers fairly quickly, that would be great. Because, yeah, clearly you're not selling this game in these puzzles on classic basic Sudoku solutions. These puzzles are so much more difficult than that the basics just don't need to be considered at all. Alright, well, the good news is there's only 2 more of these really difficult puzzles, and so it would be kind of silly to rage quit before then. And then we'll try and have a relaxing final sequence with the remaining of these puzzles. But then I'm done with Cracking the Cryptic, and probably done with Sudoku in general. But yeah, the current state with the hints are unacceptably bad. They need to fix that, possibly even just pull the hints completely until they are properly written. And they probably just need to hire a professional writer, some kind of like educational writer or textbook writer, textbook editor, to write the hints for them. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.